podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Now entering the PNRNetworks arena, coming down the aisle from Revere, Massachusetts, weighing in at absolutely none of your business. It's the Mistress of Mayhem, the Queen of Quips. It's time for Ring Around the Rosie with your hostess, Kim Brown.
Welcome, everybody, to another week here on Ring Around the Rosie. I am Kim Brown, your hostess, a.k.a. Platinum Rose Lady, coming to you on October 9th, 2019. It is, as I term it, October, which makes it the most wonderful time of the year. I am a definite October person. I am a fan of October and Halloween and all things spooky and candy and just the feel of fall and candy and horror movies and all that good stuff like that. And speaking of horror movies, well, it wasn't a movie, because if it was a movie, we could have gone to the box office and demanded our money back. Hell in a Cell 2019 is in our rearview mirrors, and I think we can all thank whatever deity you pray to that this is the case. Because, good grief, there were 2 matches on this show that were, except not including the pre-show, there were 2 matches on this show that were great. Everything else was kind of between and what the fuck just happened. So we're going to go through this and get it done and get it over with, because that's how I feel. Hell in a Cell was October 6th this year, 2019, at the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. And the pre-show had a dynamite match between Lacey Evans and Natalya, with Natalya winning by a submission, making Lacey Evans tap out, which made me laugh like a supervillain. I kind of figured that's probably going to be the only time the whole night I'll be smiling, but as it turned out, it wasn't, thankfully not. Also, the other thing that happened during the pre-show was Ali had a face-off with Randy Orton, because Ali was trying to do an interview where his cute little face was on our televisions and talking, and all along comes Randy Orton being all like, "Grr, I'm Randy Orton, I'm the big bad viper, and you're not good enough to be in a ring with me," and Ali's all like, "Fuck you, yes I am." And so they were going to have a match on the card, and anybody who thought that that was going to go well for Ali is a very optimistic person, bless your heart. We begin the show with the match between Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, and Sasha Banks in the Hell in a Cell. And I was like, this is starting, we're going to do the, okay. That was that was one of the moments where I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Becky wound up winning because she was able to slap the disarmor on Sasha, and Sasha tapped out, so Becky keeps her belt. Unfortunately, this probably won't shut Sasha up. Following that was the tag team, the Tornado Tag Team, which means that all 4 people can be in the ring at the same time, with the team of Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns going against Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, also known as the bearded scary people, because I don't know what else to call them. You know what? I figured, since gimmick infringement is something that happens so often in wrestling, I'm gonna borrow a gimmick from somebody else who's gone to another federation, thank goodness, where they're using him better. I figure since Goldust isn't using, Goldust is now Dustin Rhodes again, and no one's using the whole movie quote thing, I'm gonna use it. I have a very bad feeling about this Star Wars. from the whole thing with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns as a team, I was like, I felt so like something's going to go very wrong. And, I was really convinced there was going to be a betrayal. There was not. I was actually pleasantly surprised. With Roman getting a Superman punch and a spear onto Luke Harper and getting the pin. After the match was done, Roman, being a gentleman and stupidly hot, tried to shake Daniel's hand, and Daniel instead wanted a hug. So he and Roman actually embraced each other. And the fans were all excited and happy. And hopefully that will shut the mouths of all these smart motherfuckers that have been pissing on Roman ever since Roman dared to win the Royal Rumble, that they all figured that Daniel Bryan was ordained to win. Roman winds up winning instead, and he gets shat on because it's Daniel Bryan, and he's, for some people, he, at the time, was wrestling's answer to Jesus. You know who you are. You know how you treated Roman before he got sick, and now you're all like, oh, yay, Roman. We know who the hypocrites are. Anyway, the next match after that was Randy Orton going against Ali. Someday you'll get a first name again, Ali. Someday. This was good. I mean, it was a good match. I mean, they're both great workers. It's just, again, I'm like, what did this accomplish when the end of the match saw, Randy Orton getting the RKO out of nowhere? It's not out of nowhere. It's in the fucking ring. We just saw it. I can't fucking stand that term. RKO, pinfall, boom. I'm like, what the fuck did this serve? Who did this benefit? You know who it benefited? Nobody. Because it made Ali look like he wasn't ready for a veteran performer like Orton. It made Orton look like a jerk because he's beating up on, I wouldn't call Ali a rookie, but someone who's definitely not got as much experience under their belt as Randy. I mean, Randy should be used to looking like a jerk because it's Randy Orton. There's a reason why I came up with Randy Orton syndrome. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, Randy Orton syndrome is the condition where you have an attractive guy that you think is, oh, hey, he's cute, or hey, he's hot, and then he opens his mouth and fucking ruins it. My guy does not see any attraction for Randy Orton. I happen to think he's got a great body. When he wants to, he has a very nice smile. But most of the time, it's like he opens his mouth and I'm like, fuck, that's it, fine, I'm done. The next match was for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, which is held by Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I don't get this team. I don't get it. Going against the Kabuki Warriors of the team of Asuka and Kairi Sane. Thankfully, Kairi, who still has this whole pirate gimmick, which I still don't get, thankfully, she did not come running down to the ring holding the telescope, the spyglass in her hands. Because every time she does that, I'm like, this is gonna end so fucking bad one of these days. And apparently they turned Asuka and Kairi heel, because I guess, because everyone keeps referring to them as heel and all this stuff like that. And the end of the match had Kairi and Alexa outside of the ring. Asuka was in the ring with Nikki and spit a bunch of green mist in her face and did a roll up. So now the new women's tag team champions are Asuka and Kairi Sane. So we've gone back to the whole evil foreign heel thing, and also with the fact that all Asian wrestlers seem to be able to spit some kind of mist out of their mouths. What? What? I mean, don't even get me fucking started on calling them the Kabuki Warriors, because I will go completely off again, and I don't need to do that. Aggravating. The next match was a 6-man tag team match with the OC, which is AJ Styles, who is also the current U.S. champion and being a bitch, going against Luke Gallows, going along with his partners Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, going against the Viking Raiders, the team of Ivar and Eric, and their partner, who, as it turned out, was Braun Strowman. And Strowman beat the hell out of everybody and wound up getting jumped by all 3 members of the OC, and that wound up being a disqualification. So the winners of the match were actually the Viking Raiders and Braun Strowman. It wasn't bad. It was kind of like, I don't really get the point. I was just kind of like, okay, Braun Strowman's a badass. We knew that. I don't really see what is this pushing storyline-wise? I don't get it. There was a segment backstage, because goodness knows we can't have enough of those, with Tamina, who, this is the first time we've actually seen Tamina since WrestleMania 35. And Tamina managed to pin Carmella to win the WWE 24/7 championship. Yay. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I am not one of these people that's like, oh, comedy has no place in wrestling, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel that way. I definitely feel like, people that have gimmicks that are funny or characters that are funny, or there's matches where there's a lot of comedy, that doesn't bother me. But I don't know why the whole 24/7 thing, it bothers me, but I can't say why it bothers me. I mean, which is weird, because the hardcore belt and that whole thing didn't bother me, but for some reason this bothers me, and I honest to blog, don't know why. If I had an actual reason, I'd give it. I really would. Following that was a match between King STD. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, my Freudian slip is showing. Let me tuck that back in. Baron Corbin going against Chad. Why did you cut your hair, Gable? Yes, I know. I'm shallow. I know. I'm sorry. And I realized that I know Chad's like, probably a family man and married or some shit, but you look better with long hair, bro. I'm sorry. You looked better with long hair. I like men with long hair. I'm sorry. I can't help it. Jesus had long hair. You didn't hear anybody giving him garbage about it, did you? Throughout this whole match, where we had to suffer through listening to Corey Graves on the mic, because we always do, because we can't have nice things, Corey was constantly, because Corbin started it, referring to Chad Gable as Shorty. I'm like, first off, he's not that short. Second of all, shut up. Third of all, shut up. Corbin tried to hit Chad with his scepter, not that one, calm down, because he's king of the ring, so now he's carrying around a scepter. You think if he had any fucking brains, he'd carry around a fucking sword and just stab somebody. Not that I'm advocating that, but Gable managed to not get hit with the scepter and got Corbin in a roll-up and wound up winning the match. And then the damn ring announcer referred to him as Shorty Gable, and Michael Cole lost his fucking mind. I mean, I was actually kind of like, I was like, okay, damn. I was really surprised Michael Cole went completely off on the ring announcer for calling him Shorty, saying the guy should be fired and all this other stuff like that. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm sorry, Michael, but to quote Taylor Swift, you need to calm down. Woo! We got some more 24/7 stuff with Tamina. Tamina ran out from backstage trying to get away from Carmella, and R-Truth. And she's running around the international broadcast duos, which we'd been, introduced to earlier in the show. She winds up grabbing Funaki, of all people, and puts Funaki in front of her when Truth is out there. And Truth starts doing all these fake karate moves ending with a half-assed crane stance. No, I shouldn't say that. That was nice. I'm sorry, R-Truth. It was a very nice crane stance for someone who's never done one in their life. Sorry. And the whole thing boiled down to Carmella did a super kick on Tamina, and then R-Truth pinned Tamina, and now R-Truth is the 24/7 champion for the 20th time, because champion reigns, in case you hadn't figured out the joke yet, championship reigns when it comes to the 24/7 championship are about as long as the life of your average mayfly. Look it up. The last match before the main event was Bayley defending her women's SmackDown championship against Charlotte Flair. Charlotte, the ring robe that night, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I don't know why you didn't have the big collar up the back, because that big collar thing, I like that. I like that look on her. It looks really good. It was a very low-key gown for Charlotte, which isn't a bad thing. You don't always feel like you want to dress a certain way, and that's fine. Actually, you know what? Charlotte would look awesome cosplaying as Loki. I mean, Loki can change into a woman. That would be really interesting. Actually, my husband and I have brought this up. If Cher ever does a movie where she needs somebody to play her daughter, get Charlotte. Because facially, they look alike. It's weird, but they do. Very all over the place match. The end of it being Flair slapping Bayley in the figure 8 leg lock, and Flair winning the belt. She is winning the SmackDown belt for the 5th time, and this is the 10th time she has won a women's championship since being on the main roster. So that's pretty neat. Obviously, we're trying to tie with Dad, I guess. I don't know. It was interesting afterwards that Bayley had a bit of a mini breakdown, which it was very weird. The audience was extremely weird during this show. I could say some things that wouldn't be very nice, but I won't. It's the whole Lakers-Celtics thing. You have to be a basketball person. I'm not a basketball person, but I know the Lakers and Celtics fans don't get along. Anyway, moving forward, because the fans were not accepting, Bayley's supposed to be the heel in this match, because they were cheering for everything she did. And after the match was over, when she's sitting on the ground and all dejected and crying and stuff, the fans are still all like, "Oh, you're awesome," and all this stuff like that. I'm like, y'all don't fucking get it, do you? You're just not gonna play along, are you? Bayley had a complete mental meltdown, screaming at the officials and just, I was like, are we gonna throw a tantrum, an actual honest to blog tantrum? But we didn't go that far. Thank goodness. And now we come to the main event, the top of the show, the point where shit started to go horribly wrong. Now, this has been built up for quite a bit. The fact that Seth Rollins is defending the Universal Championship against The Fiend, which they're referring to The Fiend Bray Wyatt, when before it was just The Fiend, like it was a different person or whatever. I don't know. And there's been all this times where the Fiend has been attacking Seth and, other people and stuff. I cannot get the imagery out of my head, though, from a couple of weeks ago where, the whole thing where the Fiend, showed up at the end of one of the matches, with a Raw match, and he's, crawling towards Seth, and Seth is, over in the corner, hunched up like a little kid that's just had a nightmare and come face to face with the boogeyman, and he's, screaming his lungs out in terror, and it was hot. There, I said it. Don't kink shame. I'm a woman. I have needs. Don't judge me. So we get the whole build-up and the whole thing for this match. And the match, now, my first moment of what the hell was when we finally all figured out as an audience that this whole match was going to be taking place with the whole ring surround, the lights and everything all went red. And stayed red. Now, at first, I was like, what the fuck? And I'm trying, at this point, I'm sitting there and I'm watching this, and my head's doing that tilty thing. You know that tilty thing that dogs do when they hear a strange noise? My head's doing that. And I'm like, they're not going to leave it like this, are they? And my fella's like, no, I think they are. And I'm like, now me, trying to be an optimist, Sagittarius, we're optimists, we can't help it. Me, I'm going, maybe that's not going on in the building. Maybe that's something that they're doing, with special effects, computer generated filtery shit that I don't understand stuff, because this technical things, and that makes my head hurt. And he's looking at the arena, what we could see from the television. He's like, no, there's some lights on back there. The lights are actually red in the whole building, right there. I'm like, well, fuck, this is stupid. There was a quote from somebody online that said that they thought it made somebody had said something to the effect of that it made it look like the match was going on in a whorehouse, and somebody else had said that people would have enjoyed themselves more. You're not fucking wrong. Now, my whole thing, and I realize this is going to get me branded as probably a terrible human being. And, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, how can you say something like that? You're so awful. But I got to be me, as the song said. When you have something like a Hell in a Cell match, does anybody out there, and you can tell me, you really can, does anybody else think, oh, I don't know, we might see a tiny bit of blood? Maybe just a little. I mean, for those of us who remember Mick Foley's tooth getting shoved through his fucking face, I'm not saying I want blood much. But for one thing, I'm like, well, with the fucking red lights, we can't see what the fuck's going on half the time. I felt so bad for the crowd. I was like, what in the fuck is going on with the people who are, the people who were ringside could probably see okay, I guess. But, what about the people who are, like, way up in the balconies and shit? I'm like, how can they see what's going on? I know there's screens around and stuff like that. But still, I'm sorry. Whose ever bright idea that was, stop having bright ideas like that. Needless to say, this got nasty. Nasty. Extremely, extremely physically nasty, because Seth Rollins is out there basically trying to exorcise this demon, and unfortunately nobody taught Seth Latin. And apparently Seth does not have the Winchesters on speed dial, because he could have really used them. He hit 11 curve stomps and 1 pedigree on the Fiend, and was not able to get a pin. This is in between grabbing everything under the ring except a chainsaw. We had chairs, we had kendo sticks, we had everything you can think of short of a chainsaw, a velociraptor, something like that. Anything else that could cause damage was thrown at each other, and nothing was working. The one part that I was like, wait a minute. The whole thing when the Fiend gets this, I was like, what is that? From under the ring, this mallet, and not just like a little mallet. This thing is this huge, enormous, square mallet, because I'm like, you can't use a round mallet because Harley Quinn will get mad at you, because that's where you guys ripped that off from, and I am not going to not believe that. And he, basically tried to cave Seth's head in with it. He got his sister Abigail in on Seth, and who kicked out of getting, he didn't get pinned. Yes, and Seth, like I said, just went nuts. Used a chair, ladder, toolbox. Used the toolbox, not the stuff in the toolbox, just the actual toolbox. And basically all of these things were getting driven into the Fiend's noggin. I'm like, you have a toolbox. You have a toolbox with tools in it. use the tools in the box, genius. But, apparently that's why I'm not a writer for the WWE, because, no, I don't, no, nobody. Oh, me writing for the WWE would be exceedingly interesting and filthy. So like I mentioned, so Seth has basically covered, the Fiend looks like a Home Depot's exploded on top of him. And Rollins gets one more thing out from under the ring, and two guesses what it is. It's a sledgehammer. Ta-da! And the referee has finally noticed all of this wildly inappropriate shit happening, and is basically doing everything but getting on his hands and knees and begging Rollins not to use the sledgehammer like Bray Wyatt was his brother or something. And Seth kind of stood there for a second, and the look on his face was kind of like, am I really going to do this? Have I really slipped that far? Yup. Sledgehammer down on top of everything else that was on top of Bray Wyatt's head. And then the referee calls for the bell. And I went, what the fuck? My husband went, what the fuck? Everybody in the arena went, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure everybody else at home watching went, what the fuck? I'm sure people who weren't watching went, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure the entire fucking universe went, what the fuck? The cage was brought up, and out come the paramedics, and they've got the board thing that they put people on where they're going to take them and put them on the stretcher. I don't know what that board thing is called. I'm so sorry. I'm very bad at, terms and shit. And also not swearing. Sorry. So, now Seth Rollins has done all of this stuff to the Fiend. And he's lying there in the ring, and he has not moved at all. Now, I'm thinking to myself, are they actually trying to perpetuate the story that Seth Rollins has just committed murder in the middle of the ring? Please tell me we're not doing this. But then Seth Rollins, a grown adult man who should know better than this, because he's of that certain generation that he has to have seen at least one fucking slasher movie. Seth Rollins decides to do the one thing that every slasher movie bimbo did back in the 80s, the let's bend in real close to the monster and see if he's dead routine. Guess what happened next? He bends down to look at the Fiend to make sure he's truly vanquished, and all of a sudden, his arm shoots up, grabs Rollins, and clamps the mandible claw on him. Really? It wasn't a nice, cool sit-up like The Undertaker did I still contend that The Undertaker lifted that move off of the actor that played Michael Myers in the original Halloween, because it's just too close. He mandible claw on, drags Seth out of the ring, does a Sister Abigail onto the concrete, and is still clamping on the mandible claw, and now Rollins starts bleeding from the mouth. As the referees and the officials and everything are running around with like chickens with their heads cut off. Because apparently it doesn't occur to anybody to just fucking tase this guy. It's because the match is fucking over. You can fucking mace him if you want to. Now, while all of this is going on, the end of the match, the minute the bell rang, you literally could feel the crowd going, oh, hell no. And you could very loudly hear the chants of refund, bullshit, and more importantly, AEW. This went over about as well. This went over about as well as a whore in the front row of Sunday Mass. I'm sorry. For a little while on Twitter, the hashtag cancel WWE network was trending for quite a bit of time. Oh my gosh. I am giving this paper... the thing is, like I said, I really enjoyed the first 2 matches, and there were some other good points in other matches on the show, but fuck me, Gently with a Chainsaw. What in the fuck were you people thinking? This pay-per-view is getting a C. I'm giving it a C. I'd almost give it a C-, but I'm not going to be that mean. And then the next night, they just decide, well, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about what happened. We're not going to talk about Seth Rollins. We're not going to talk about The Fiend. We're not going to have them on the show. What? What? I'm sorry. I am just completely gobsmacked, stunned, and floored at what we were witnessed and expected to swallow. Going on to some other WWE news, WWE has announced that they're going to be having this big press conference, in Las Vegas this Friday. People are speculating that it's going to be about some big matches that are going to be added to Crown Jewel, which will be happening at the end of the month, and which, once again, I will not be ordering. And I am not saying that to... I'm not saying I'm not ordering it out of any sense of any moral superiority or anything like that. I'm certainly not saying that if you as a fan want to order it, I'm not saying you have to follow my actions and not order it. I would never do that because you're a person on your own. You have free will, and it is what it is. But I'm sorry, I cannot, in good conscience, watch a pay-per-view from a country where the government is doing the things that it's doing to its own people. I can't. I just can't. But like I said, if you want to, that's, your thing. There's been some other talk recently that, about a remark that has been going around today, and it's got me completely mystified. I found out about this from What Culture Wrestling over on YouTube. Hey y'all, there's some great guys over there, and they do a lot of really good work. They brought up how they had heard from another source that Vince McMahon has said that he feels that some of the people that work for him and some of the program, decisions that have been made are too pro wrestling or something to that effect. What? As I mentioned before, I'm going to take a line from a movie. Vince's whole thing is that it's World Wrestling Entertainment. And obviously the entertainment part is the part that Vince feels like we as fans should focus on. Are you not entertained? Gladiator 2000. And the answer to that question is no. I'm not entertained. I feel like my intelligence is being insulted. And I'm really kind of fed up. I can only get fucked so many times before I'm like, could I please at least have a cigarette? It's like, I'm sorry. Vince really, if Vince is that out of touch, something needs to happen. We all know that Triple H and Stephanie are going to be the people that are, going to be in control one day, and I'm sorry, somebody needs to look at this and go, are you fucking kidding? Does Vince think that little of the people who keep him in business? Let's think about this for a minute. If any other form of business treated its customers the way Vince McMahon treats the people who buy pay-per-views, who buy the WWE Network, who buy t-shirts and videos and whatever. Think about that for a minute. If you walked into a restaurant and the people there were just completely terrible to you, wouldn't you be like, I am never going back there again, and I am telling all my friends that I'm never, they shouldn't go there either? I mean, I don't get it. I really don't get the contempt that Vince seems to have for the people who pay to see his product. I really don't get it. I mean, if you're wondering about apparently what isn't too pro wrestling, apparently adultery isn't too pro wrestling, because now we've got this whole storyline between Rusev, Lana, and Bobby Lashley, where Lana's apparently cheating on no, actually, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not going to say she's cheating on Rusev with Bobby Lashley, because if I said Lana was cheating on Rusev with Bobby Lashley, that would imply that it was being done subtly. Usually people who are cheating on their significant others are sneaking around. They don't want to be found out. They don't want people to know what they're doing. They don't have it broadcast on a big, gigantic screen on live fucking television. So it's not cheating. So what else would we call it? I know. We'll call it adultery, because that's what it is. It's adultery. And for Lana to be all like, oh, people are bullying me and people are narrow-minded haters and all this stuff like that. First off, just side note, parentheses, we're talking about Lana, the character, not the person behind the character, because we're sure that they're very happily married to Rusev in real life. So back to kayfabe. Whoop, we're over here now. No, you're not being bullied if people are saying you're an adulteress, because you came out and said you were an adulteress. That's not people bullying you. Seriously, I know what bullying is like. So don't go there. Do not poke that bear. Actually, you've already poked the bear, because Rusev seems pretty pissed. I don't know where they're going with this, and to be perfectly honest, I don't give a flying rat's ass. I really, and honest to blog, don't. All I know is I want it to go away. I want wrestling on my wrestling programs. I realize that must make me, in Vince McMahon's eyes, ironically enough, it must make me seem terribly archaic to Vince, who's got to be at least 20 or 25 years older than me. But I'm sorry. I want wrestling on my wrestling shows. And if I don't get it, I'm going to go somewhere else. Gosh, where am I going to go? Let's see. Oh, I know where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to AEW, where I'm actually treated like they want me there, and I'm a fan, and I'm respected, and not treated like a dummy for watching your programming. I'm not going to be one of these people that's like, oh, I'm never going to watch the WWE again, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that, because I know that I'm going to watch it eventually, probably just to see what's going on, and basically to look at some of the guys that I think are hot. Fine, that's shallow, fuck me. I don't care. But am I going to watch it as much? No, not really. Not as long as this crap's going on. Am I going to watch AEW more? I'm going to watch it as much as I can, and including tonight as I'm taping this. Because so far what I've seen has been amazing and fun and exciting and all the things that make me happy to be a wrestling fan, along with handsome gentlemen. Hi, Jungle Boy. So I don't know. I mean, am I being too harsh? Have you listened to this whole thing and said, holy cow, Kim, you're like really freaking out about this, and so on and so forth, and you don't need to get that upset and all this stuff like that. I mean, maybe I don't. If you think that I'm like, tripping and too like out there and upset and all that, PlatinumRoselle@yahoo.com. You can follow me on Twitter, PlatinumRoselle@twitter.com. Tell me what you feel. I'd like to know. But seriously, it's like, you don't treat customers like that, Vince. You don't. If you want to keep them as customers, you don't. So, that's going to wrap things up this week, and I hope you will come to our website over at, check all our other podcasts like Subject Cinema and all the other things that we do, all the other podcasts that are part of our little family. You can check them out on our webpage, and please make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell people about us, and just have a great time, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? We're supposed to be watching wrestling to have fun. If we want to be depressed, we'll watch the news. Well, somebody else will watch the news. I don't watch the news. If I can avoid it, simply because I don't like watching bad news. So anyway, this is Kim signing off for another week here on Ring Around the Rosie, and I will catch you guys later. Bye now.
You have been listening to Ring Around the Rosie with Kim Brown, a production of PNRNetworks. Keep in touch with all things about the show at http://ringaroundtherosie.net. Ring Around the Rosie intro performed by Eric Lyon. Ring Around the Rosie theme by Digital Juice. Join Kim for a new Ring Around the Rosie every Wednesday. Ring Around the Rosie is copyright 2018 PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, USA.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.